comes to additional revenue that they expect from the National Assembly. Remember, the National Assembly gave a proposal of 316 billion shillings, while the Senate gave a proposal of 335 billion shillings. Let's begin that conversation. Our Twitter handle at KTN News KE at Zeda Brenda. Begin with the hashtag KTN News Kenya. KTN News, rather, when you're giving us your feedback, whether the decision by the county governors to shut down services is called for. Now, critical functions across the 47 counties are set to grind to a halt as the Council of Governors highlighted the deepening crisis facing devolved units. As Jesse Rogers now reports, the time frame given by county heads comes as a little progress has been made by the mediation committee, whose 30-day deadline is barely 2 weeks away.
Governors are set to shut down counties from September 16, 2019, if the Division of Revenue Bill impasse is not settled by then.
We hope that they can resolve this issue as quick as possible. But beyond 16th of September 2019, if this matter is not resolved, we have resolved here that we will have no option but to shut down all the counties.
Speaking after a lengthy Council of Governors meeting, the chair of the council, Wycliffe Oparanya, highlighted that critical services in most counties had ground to a halt, with a message quite clear to the county staff that their August salaries going forward will not be forthcoming.
Some counties have not been able to pay salaries, and therefore employees of counties should not expect any salary for the 2 months running.
The Supreme Court was willing to pronounce itself on the matter and instead handed the bicameral House 30 days to allow an 18-member mediation committee time to solve the stalemate. But the ongoing mediation talks between the Senate and the National Assembly have hit a snag, with little progress being made as the latest sitting was aborted due to lack of quorum.
We have been given a very serious matter. It's a mediation committee, and unlike other mediation committees of other bills, this is a very serious matter because it concerns counties.
Once we agree, after I allow Honorable Junet point of order, once we agree on when to meet next, at least we must ensure that we are all present, at least in terms of quorum. At least a third of us from either house are present. Two, in that meeting we must make that decision on whether we will need to call the National Treasury, accounting officers from the judiciary, and accounting officers from both the National Assembly and Senate.
With the mediation committee slated to have its next sitting on 11 September, the paralysis of critical functions in counties is set to roll over to the new month. National Assembly allocated 316.5 billion Kenya shillings to counties, but the senators objected the figure and demanded a 335 billion shilling share for the devolved units. The matter is set to be mentioned at the Supreme Court on September the 16th, the same day as the county chiefs who have planned a shutdown. Jesse Rogers, KTN News.
So should governors shut down county governments if the demands for additional revenue is not met? That is a discussion, just to remind you, having with you on our social media platform at KTN News KE at Zeda Brenda, begin with the hashtag KTN News Center. Let's have also this discussion with nominated Senator Isaac Mwaura via way of phone. Good morning, Honorable Mwaura, and thank you so much for talking to us here on KTN News Center. Now, county governments say that they're going to have a shutdown because they've not received the funds that they want. What is your take on that?
Yeah, thank you very much, President, for this beautiful morning and the show and everything. I want to say that, yeah, we are in a crisis. In fact, I am the Vice Chairman of the Finance and Budget Committee of Senate, and we are in the process of trying to see, can we have a way in which we release, at least even if it's half the amount of money, so that then we reduce this kind of situations. I just had a conversation 2 days ago with the chairman of the Council of Governors, Wycliffe Oparanya. And he was very, very livid around the whole issue because people are not getting, medicine in hospitals, and people have not even been paid for salaries for July. Now this is the end of August. Everything is really not working. And in fact, I remember even, where I come from in Ruiru, some youth really wanted to use some transport, some lorry, to transport garbage, and they couldn't just get the lorry fueled because there are no monies in the coffers of Kiambu County government. So really, it's that basic, it's that dire, and this is not a question of conjecture. I think people must realize that we are no longer having one level of government, that county governments count for something, and they really play a very critical role in the economy of this country and also the development of our nation. So it's really, really a call to reason. Let reason prevail, because we cannot keep on just thumping. In fact, I think, Brenda, one of the things that I take note is that we seem to be having to take up the wars of the two levels of the executives at the national and county, and then it is now cascaded to the Senate and the National Assembly. We must find a lasting solution to this.
So, Honorable Maura, is this the best way to solve the crisis that's facing the 47 county governments? Shutting down the county governments.
Mm-hmm. I think if you look at Article 216 of the Constitution all the way to 226, it's very elaborate around how is it that even when a county has misappropriated funds, you wouldn't want to make the people there to suffer. So the same principles would apply, that we can actually release half the amount of money, at least even for the quarter, so that then at least counties can benefit. Because you see, Brenda, what is going to happen is a situation where when we do not appropriate properly, as is currently the case, then the government projects at the county levels are going to be interfered with, to begin with the priorities under the county integrated development plans, but also the conditional grants that are very critical towards attainment of the Big Four agenda and the Vision 2030. So it is not just a thing that we just need to dismiss. But I think I want to also say that it was not right. It was not right for the presidency to not now be seen to be the independent arbiter in this whole situation, because we look at the law, we look at the scientific formula, all of those are making sense. By the end of the day, we are talking about shareable revenue. It requires, that the executive, and particularly the office of the president, to ensure that we have some agreement. We cannot keep on, going, left and right, back and forth.
But Honorable Maura, if I may be the devil's advocate over here, President Uhuru Kenyatta was talking from the basis of the fact that that some of the county governments have not accounted for the public funds that have been given. That's why the president said that the country doesn't have enough money to give governors, because governors, what you had proposed was 335 billion shillings, while the National Assembly has proposed 316 billion shillings.
I think, Brenda, that's not a very honest conversation, especially when it is looked at the fact that we have a whole budget of 3 trillion shillings. 3 trillion shillings, county governments are only getting 335 as per our proposal, which is scientific. It is based in law according to Section 5 of the Division of Revenue Act, and the president's, so positive thereof. And so, therefore, it is not fair to, for example, say that you can find a way of increasing about 8 billion shillings under CDF. You have a lot of money you are spending under what you call national interest, which also means national government projects, and yet you don't have enough money to give to counties. Yes, indeed, there are counties that have misappropriated funds, and indeed we can say that over 1 trillion shillings have been devolved. But look at it this way, Brenda. Corruption is not a devolved function. I think it's a shared one. Because by the end of the day, the monies that have been taken to offshore accounts, to Cayman Islands and such places, it's over 14.8 trillion shillings. So when you steal at the center in Nairobi and you take it offshore, it is not fair at all. In fact, you can almost say that when monies are stolen from the counties, they are invested within the economy of the country. That is not to justify corruption. So you cannot have a big man syndrome around the issue of corruption. Corruption, right now we are dealing with Aror, Kimwarel, NYS, Goldenberg, all of those are done by the national government, and many other corruption scandals.
All right.
In fact, there's even another scandal that is yet to come about Kenya Institute of Supplies Management, where money that is given by the National Treasury go to KISM, and then they are being told to buy the same building that they were financing through the budget.
All right.
So really, corruption is there. Yes.
Honorable Morif can still hear me. So who will blink fast? Is it the senators or members of the National Assembly? Because both of you have had hardline positions during your meetings, and at the end of the day, we've seen these meetings collapse.
I think it's not a question of brinkmanship, Brenda. It's a question of putting the interest of the country. Because when that little person there who cannot afford medicine, when people cannot even go, from one place to another, like, yesterday, I got complaints from people in Githurai that their roads are impassable. People are even wearing gumboots now, you can imagine, just because of the little rain. That means that then people are suffering. So I don't think we should engage in the question of grandstanding and brinkmanship. It's a question of putting the country, forward and imagining that, yes, it's the Kenyans that we are suffering. Can you imagine how many people are going to die or even have died because they cannot get medicine? Like, I remember, being told that somebody who just lied on the line at Thika Level 5 hospital because they couldn't be, taken care of because there was a huge queue. And also, it reintroduces, multiplicity of corruption because of the limited and unavailable services, people then have to bribe to get them. So I think we must look at it from a wider perspective, and I think this is the time that people must be statesmen and women so that we can move the country forward.
All right. And lastly, Honorable Mora, what is the way forward? Because the president has made it stand very clear we don't have money. Members of the National Assembly are saying we can only give you 316 billion shillings. What is the way forward?
The budget is highly mismanaged. There's a lot of duplication. We need to clean up our budget. The Office of Budget Management at the State House, at the Presidency, needs to do a thorough work. We need also to separate the National Treasury from the national government so that it becomes an independent institution that oversights and also allocates resources to both levels of government. This is not donation. This is not money being donated to counties. It is money shared as per the Constitution. And I think we need to change also our PFM law, Public Finance Management law, so that we are very clear in terms of procedures, and also to ensure that then division of revenue, we do not have each and every time when we have, at the beginning of the financial year, we have this kind of problems. Budgets always increase. I think they have really been, inflated on the part of the national government projects, and that is where the issue is. And also, Brenda, the poor management of our debts. We have overborrowed. We are living beyond our means, and it cannot be that when that happens, the people who are suffering the most are the county government. It cannot be like that. We must bear the brunt in equal measure, especially on the national government. There's a lot of wastage. There's a lot of looting. There's a lot of seepage that could help the country to move forward by reducing even the workforce at the national level.
Okay.
There are so many people who are idle, and yet so many youth are not employed. We need to increase their levels of productivity. So it's not just one bullet. There's a lot of multiplicity of interventions that if we were to be considered through good governance, the country will be able to rise from this quagmire.
All right, thank you so much. Nominated Senator Isaac Mora talking to us about that impasse between the National Assembly and the senators when it comes to how much should be allocated to the counties. Remember, the National Assembly has proposed to give county governments 316 billion shillings, while senators maintain that county governments should be given 335 billion shillings, hence the conversation that we're having with you also on a social media platform where we ask you, should governors shut down county governments if the demand for additional revenue is not met? Should governors shut down county governments if the demand for additional revenue is not met? At KTN News KE, at Zeda Brenda, begin with the hashtag KTN News Center. Let's now link up with our reporter, Ibrahim Karanja, who is in Nyeri County. He's also going to talk to the Nyeri governor when it comes to this decision by the county governors to shut down county governments due to lack of funds. Ibrahim Karanja, what is the county governor saying?
Well, Brenda, that decision by the Council of Governors actually that threatens to shut down county operations as from mid-September is a decision that has caught the country in surprise, many actually panicking, wondering what exactly it means for county governments to shut down. Of course, the Council of Governors giving tough reasons or really solid reasons from where they sit as to why they'll do that. They express the frustrations that the county governments are currently operating in. But that question is what most Kenyans now want to understand. Does it mean that there shall be no services from the county government? Does it mean that, civil servants in the county government will say down their tools? Does it mean that the county governments as is, we understand most of them have had issues with paying of their employees? What exactly does it mean? I have with me Nyeri Governor, the Honorable Mutahi Kahiga, who will help us break down, perhaps describe the situation counties are currently operating in, and also break down what that pronouncement by the Council of Governors meant yesterday. Thank you so much, Governor. You are live on KTN News. Yes. Perhaps let's get straight into it with that question of shutting down, or counties could shut down in mid-September. What exactly does it mean? Is it the services? Is it that workers will no longer be working? You may want to break down to the viewers what that means.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim. I think what we must understand is that with the onset of devolution, the citizens of particular devolved units began now relying on the county governments to continue providing particular services, specialized services, and those that were devolved. And so when my chairman, His Excellency Oparanya, says that without funds, without the release, without us solving this dilemma, counties will grind to a halt, he is right. Because what really it means is that all services that are supposed to be provided by county governments cannot be provided. Key among them is that we are not able to pay our employees. Yes, it's fortunate that there was a rollover of some money that was deposited in our accounts on the 30th of June, close to midnight, and that is the money that has helped us pay the June and July August salaries. We are now stuck. And what it means is that we will soon grind to a halt. We have continued to receive fuel from petrol stations on credit. Up to what limit are they going to give us the fuel? Looking at our hospitals, we have continued to get drugs from KEMSA. We are lucky that we are a UHC county and that we didn't even owe KEMSA, so we have a few drugs. But they will soon run out. And KEMSA itself has declared and pronounced itself on the matter of debts unpaid. So really what we are saying, Ibrahim, is that if this lacuna continues, if this impasse is not resolved urgently and money released to counties, then we will ground every service, and the counties, we will not be able to pay for electricity, we will not be able to have our vehicles running, the employees themselves will not be able to give services, and so what it means is that there will be a total shutdown, and that one will have a very negative effect on Mwananchi. But it is also important for us to say this: governors do not determine the amount of money they are supposed to receive. The money is determined by other forces, number one being the Commission of Revenue Allocation, which just pronounces itself. They have their own formula of calculating in terms of inflation and many other indexes that help them arrive at a figure. And in this case, they arrived at 335. The Senate considered that and arrived at 327. National government, National Assembly, and so National Treasury, since they work together, they speak in the same language, were also able to arrive at a figure of 310, later revised to 314 to 316. We are saying as governors, we no longer care what you people are discussing, just release the funds, because if one single soul is lost, if one patient dies in our county hospitals because we could not provide services, we could not provide drugs, then you will be held responsible. And I think any leader worth his soil, his salt, who really thinks about Mwananchi should have by now solved this. It's not time for chest thumping. It's not time for supremacy battles. It's time to think about Wanjiko, who is bound to suffer moving ahead. You have already seen that a number of counties have not been able to pay salaries. We are lucky we've been able to just pay August salaries, but we may not be able to pay September going ahead. And so,
Well, Governor, you have stated that indeed there's governors are open and they are saying that give us money, let us operate. Perhaps what reasons have you been given, aside from the standoff between the National Assembly and the Senate, what reasons have you been given for not really getting the money to make you operate? And perhaps you also want, as you answer that, you may also want to describe perhaps how the past 2 months have been in terms of how hard it has been to operate?
Really, let us say this. Governors do not determine, like I have said, the amounts of money that we get. Unfortunately, the law states that there must be an agreement between Senate and National Assembly. And then National Assembly is supposed to publish the DORA. That is the Division of Revenue Bill. Now, when they do that, the money flows. Unfortunately, now, we saw an advisory even from Honorable Kihara, the Attorney General, that counties cannot receive any money. We are not even able to access half of the money in our previous budget. So this one really means that we cannot operate. It has not been easy. I can tell you this. We have programs, development programs that are now stuck. We are 2 months late, and this would mean that even our absorption going forward will be very low. We have been criticized a number of times that counties are not able to absorb. It will be worse this year because the money is still held at Treasury. We cannot procure because we are now using the end-to-end process, that is the IFMI system. We are not able to move. So it's a big challenge, and I still call upon both the Senate. You can already see that Senate, when a meeting to negotiate is called, a certain house doesn't turn up, certain members don't turn up. When they do, it is about arrogance, it is about who is senior to whom, and you can even see the tone, especially where Adan Duale is concerned, until you even ask whether he was elected or he was selected.
Well, Governor, we will get, of course, to get up to talk about the tone of Honorable Duale if we had him on set. But let's talk about this particular impasse being actually, if governors or county governments can actually taking as a blessing in disguise in terms of now trying to look at other avenues that county governments could actually use and raise revenue to help them perhaps move on.
Yes, the most other ridiculous thing is that even after we collect our own money, it has to go to CRF and has to await approval from the Controller of Budget. But yes, counties are doing their best. We are struggling to ensure that we are balancing the issue of raising funds and also not overtaxing our people, because the same people have been taxed by national government to get the tax, the income tax, the payees and all that. So really, it is a delicate balance. We must ensure that we do not overtax our people. But we are doing increasing the streams from which we can collect revenue, trying to look for new avenues, and even reaching out to spread the tax base so that we do not end up taxing just a few and taking too much from them. So in other words, we are saying we want to increase this base where we can reach to more people, collect all outstanding rates and rents, so that when that money now comes to us, we are able to, unfortunately, maybe Nairobi and Mombasa are doing better than many of us. We are struggling. We haven't been able to raise 1 billion. Right now, I think we are at 837 million shillings. Yet we had targeted to get 1 billion. So we are also looking at avenues of raising our own revenue to be able to move ahead. The other challenge we also have, and this is something we inherited from national government, is that counties have continued to suffer under the burden of a huge wage bill, because we have more workers than maybe we needed. Remember, when devolved functions were devolved, then they came with their employees, but the money is still stuck somewhere. What do we mean? Looking at national government and national treasury today, you are surprised that a lot of money is left with line ministries, yet functions are devolved. I'll give an example: agriculture, health, all this. The money is retained with ministries at national level, as opposed to bringing it down where the functions have been devolved. So once a function is devolved, let the funds and resources aligned to it also come to the counties.
Well, Governor, lastly, still in that statement from the Council of Governors yesterday, governors said that they will actually bring up in this whole debate about constitutional reforms, they will bring up proposals that are pro-devolution. Yes. Perhaps you may want to expound to us and explain to us what these proposals are that you feel we actually enable devolution, and now, say, after the amendment of the Constitution, we won't be seeing such problems.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Yes, we have Ugatuzi Initiative, and Ugatuzi Initiative is merely to bring more resources to the Mwananchi. And while I may not discuss the details because it is still work in progress, the whole idea is to take care of these issues you can see. For example, in the event that we have what we have, an impasse between Senate and the National Assembly, what should happen? Because today we don't know what should happen. We will continue waiting for the benevolence of these two houses when they will decide that they want to agree. So we want to entrench in the law. What should actually happen? How much money should we receive? What we want to say this. Let's stop ambiguity in terms of saying that the national government or national treasury will ensure that it releases money to counties with a minimum of 15%. No, let's say 45%, 30% is the amount of money that must always go to the counties. A figure that will no longer now involve this push and pull, the tugs of war that we can see, so that we are clear from the beginning that this percentage of money collected will go to counties. Then let us look at all those. Let us also strengthen. Let us also look at, we have a situation where now we are being told that you can even remove a governor from office unconstitutionally, where because somebody alleged something against you and you have a case, you have to step aside. This is going to open a Pandora's box, because when somebody decides to take me to court and says issues about us, I don't think we should use that kind of way, because when the Constitution is so clear how you should remove a governor from office. Such are the things that are going to be part of the Ugatuzi Initiative to ensure that things move. We should also be able to say this. Currently, there is a lot of ambiguity in the role of a deputy governor. So we need to entrench in the Constitution the roles clear, distinct, that a deputy governor should do. Today, they are at the mercy of the governor. You give them jobs or you don't give them jobs, and you can all see all these kind of things. So those are some of the things we need to entrench in the Constitution, and therefore that will be our part of Ugatuzi Initiative.
Thank you so much. Well, that is Nyeri Governor, the Honorable Mutahi Kahiga, speaking about the frustrations that county governments have gone through to reach to that decision, where the Council of Governors yesterday issued that statement that by mid-September, if things will not have changed, then county governments will actually grind to a halt and there will be a complete shutdown. He has explained what this particular shutdown means, including the provision of services, saying that county governments are not able to run because of lack of revenue, saying that a payment of employee salaries is also becoming a hurdle, and also a provision of important services such as health in terms of medicine being available. So this is basically what the Honorable Mutahi Kahiga explains, means on that statement given by the Council of Governors. Of course, he has also given his sentiments on the Ugatuzi Initiative, that is proposals to amend the Constitution to favor the devolved units. That's all we have for you from Nyeri County. Back to you, Brenda.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim Karanja, for that interview with Nyeri Governor. When you're talking about that impasse between the National Assembly and senators